tribute to popsicles of yesteryears that are now missing. Handling with his pointed finger, Roger Rabbit's jelly center. Lincoln was a long green spiral. Batman popped that Rio Cola. Mac Black Orange, where did you vanish? Stay with me and please pop my gun pattern ellipses. Cause it's summer, and life has just begun.
So this is exciting. We've been working on this for months, and I have the pleasure and privilege to announce to you and describe to you our new Radian6 Insights platform. And why this is so exciting is that, we've been obviously listening to everyone's requests and hearing all kinds of things. We've been hearing about, okay, we'd like to have better and richer, sentiment analysis. We'd like to have more capabilities to go beyond, the words into the underlying meaning in the conversation. So we have customers saying, gee, I'd love to find a way, to automatically identify who's detracting and who's advocating for my brand. I'd like to be able to look at the conversations and automatically pull out insights like, what do people like and what do they dislike about my product or my company. We've had people talk about, the benefits of, where the world is going with semantic technologies and with natural language processing and with text analytics, and how can we pull out more insights automatically. And customers just generally saying, I want, things to be easier to, answer the questions that I have. And we've been working really hard on trying to figure out how to deliver that. And so, as we were thinking about how to bring all these things together, and I remember talking to, our founder and CTO, Chris Newton, who's here somewhere today, by the way, and a whole bunch of people that are here very proud who've worked on this. And I said, look, how can we completely change the game and not just, introduce one cool, semantic insight technology that people go, oh, wow, okay, Radian6 has this ability to automatically identify advocates. Wow, that's cool. And then 3 months later, we introduce another capability, and then a year later, we introduce another capability, and, we're kind of, going at this really slowly. And I said, we need to really figure out how to give our customers the best of the state-of-the-art of where, semantic technology can take them. And so how do we do that? Let's think about how we do that. So we started looking around, and we started thinking, well, what things should we build? And we were looking at that. We started to think, well, maybe there's companies out there we should look at buying. Maybe there's some outlier who's sticking out and really knocking the ball out of the park on this. And as we started working through this, we started first of all to find this huge, rich array of companies that have amazing abilities to understand the meaning of underlying text, but so many different ways. So we had one company that could do some type of interpretation really well. They didn't necessarily do everything. And another company, and then we started having a lot of companies coming to us and saying, gee, we can do this and that. Wouldn't it be great to partner together? And we'd go, yeah, that would be just amazing to have that in our product. And how do we get that in there and not take forever to get there? So this was the challenge that I gave Chris and the R&D team is let's come up with something absolutely game-changing. So this is like, how can we deliver the dream of the semantic web? This is the dream of the semantic web, is a web, a social web that's aware, that's knowledge aware, that has an understanding of the meaning behind things. And so what we've done is come up with this architecture that, to get techie for a minute, processes insights at a mind-blowing speed. And what we've been able to do is deliver a platform where we can plug in the best of companies and partners that deliver insights in one single platform. So what we're going to show you today is we're going to show you, and actually I'd like to get Greg Pico to join me on stage. So this is Greg.
Hi, folks.
And what we're going to show you is just a little glimpse of this. But what we did is we built a platform to be able to allow you to get access to these insights, and we're able to do it by plugging in the best of the best technologies into the platform, all in one integrated experience. And not only can you then access the power of one insights provider or the power of another insights provider, and we'll describe that for you in a minute, but we can actually allow you to mix all of that data together. So you can look at something based on the power of one semantic company's capabilities, and then we can slice that into another one. And all I'm going to do, we're not going to take a lot of time, but you're going to be able to dig into that in the pods in the back. But I'm just going to show you a couple of scenarios just to illustrate the power of this capability. So I was busy this year and didn't get to go to South by Southwest. I've gone to South by Southwest every year for the last few years, and you're all familiar with this view. This is our conversation cloud that basically extracts the top most discussed words, and you look at that and you can say, yep, that looks like some conversations that we typically see happening about South by Southwest, but it's very high level. And there's a lot of conversations by Southwest. So what I'd like to do is talk about how I can get insights out of what happened at South by Southwest. So, Greg, what I'd like to do is, one of the things that's cool about South by Southwest is it's a film festival and a music festival. So I didn't get to go this year. Can you show me what would be the most talked about films at South by Southwest this year?
I sure can, Marcel, and that actually be very easy for me to do.
All right. Funny how that is. So now, with one click, we basically can see the most talked about films at South by Southwest. Now think about what we had to do this before, okay? To do this before, you either had to read everything, or you had to go find a list somewhere of all the films that you knew were scheduled to be broadcast at South by Southwest, and you'd have to enter all of those keywords into an analysis widget and measure the volume of conversations around them all. And that would take a lot of work. And then you'd have to, look at those and understand, okay, back and forth and, these other things. Now, what's interesting here is I've never heard of back and forth, unfortunately. Some of you may know what that is. So that's a surprise. So now with one click, I can go bang, and I see all of the films that were talked about at South by Southwest. So Greg, what can you tell me more than this? What can you tell me about back and forth?
Well, Marcel, I wasn't sure about back and forth either. So what I did was I drilled down into back and forth by open amplify topics to figure out what topics were being discussed in back and forth. And I could see that, well, there was bands discussed, fighters discussed, and so on and so forth. So bands, it sounds to me like that's related to music. So what I did was I drilled down into music groups from Open Calais, and I see a list of music groups that are identified in relation to bands that were part of the discussion for back and forth, and I see Foo Fighters is at the top of the list. So I now can look at the posts behind Foo Fighters itself and see what's being discussed there. And I can see, wow, there's a post here about Foo Fighters' secret show at South by Southwest Festival, and it was to promote a new documentary that they launched at South by Southwest called Back and Forth.
Awesome. So now in a few minutes, basically, Greg goes and says, okay, I asked a question, what's the top film at South by Southwest? And now I know it's Back and Forth. It's a documentary about the Foo Fighters. And the interesting thing I just realized is that it was a surprise or secret show. So I bet it wasn't even on a list of things that were planned to be shown. So it wouldn't even have been on my list to actually search for in the beginning. Now what's interesting in what you just saw here is that the technology that was used to identify the films is a company called Open Calais, which we'll talk a bit more in a minute. And so Open Calais was able to go through all of the conversations associated with South by Southwest, identify everything in those conversations that references a film or a movie, pulled those out, and then our system counted all of that, aggregated it, and basically drew that cloud to say back and forth was the top one. Then what Greg did is he went and segmented that by another insights provider, OpenAmplify, who has the ability to go into conversations and extract topics. What are people talking about in here? And then in all those conversations, it came out and said, they're talking about a band. That's the most talked about kind of theme that came out. And then he went back to an OpenCalais capability and said, well, which bands? And then Foo Fighters came to the top. So you can see here the power of mixing and matching different insights providers all in one amazing architecture that allows you to slice and dice by these different providers. Oh yeah, and then, so what did you do here?
Well, there's something else here too, Marcel, and that's what we could have done before Radian6 Insights, to look up back and forth. How would we have done that?
Yeah, so I talked about earlier, if we wanted to do this before, we would put the words in, okay? So think about this, back and forth. So now I put in a topic profile, and I put the words in back and forth. And he just opened a river of news, and you can see it's me and him going back and forth. Well, that's not a film or a documentary. And so what's interesting is you also see the power of this insights platform in the current situation when you're only dealing with keywords. You know, sometimes you have a nice, unique brand like Radian6 that, you know, doesn't get used in any other sense, but sometimes you have brands that are very difficult and get used in different ways. And so back and forth is an example. If we just put back and forth, of course we're going to get all kinds of false positives. I went back and forth from the hotel to the venue, you know, all of that, and that would all get captured. But because of the insights platform and the semantic technologies that we have in there, it knows the difference between back and forth from the hotel and back and forth the film. So this saves huge amount of hours, huge amount of time, and helps people get to the answers. You see why I'm excited about this? This thing is absolutely amazing. Okay, I think so. Anyway, so here's another. So what did you do here, Greg? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So what I did here, Marcel, was just looking at basic demographics for the conversation related to South by Southwest. So I did a gender breakdown to see the breakdown of male to female discussing South by Southwest. I also took a look at the age breakdown to see the age ranges of people discussing South by Southwest. And you can see here that the largest segment is 25 to 34.
Yeah.
And what I was also really interested in was who are the people that influence this group? So I drilled down into clout, influenced by, to see that Mashable, CNN, Breaking News, Barack Obama are the people that most influence the 25 to 35-year-old age group.
Cool. So here again is a demonstration using two different insights providers. So we actually have a module that Radian6 added that does demographics, that does, you know, gender and age, and of course you can see that, you know, the largest group at South by, no surprise, is 25 to 34. My segment's getting smaller all the time, and now you can see that he took that and said, okay, what if we want to answer this question? So who influences that segment? And so then took that data set and applied that to a clout insight around how they calculate insight. And if you like the technology and the methodology that clout uses, then you can look at that, and of course that tells you that, you know, Mashable and others are, you know, a lot of the sources that those people read about. So this is what's exciting, again, the power of this platform. What we're going to do today is, in our initial release, we have 75 different insights from day one in the platform. We showed you about 6 or 7 this morning. So there's 75 different semantic insights that we can draw from, and that's with, you know, 3 or 4 partners, and we have several more partners that we're going to be adding. So this is going to be giving you the best of the technologies that are out there, and because of the architecture that we built, literally all it takes is for an insights provider to build an adapter to our platform to tie into this insights platform, and we can have any kind of insights. So imagine even private insights from your own enterprise. Imagine data from your CRM system applying insights on top of the social data. Imagine, you know, any kind of data about a source or a conversation that could be layered onto this. This is a very powerful platform. We're very excited about it. Oh yeah,